It's 11:34. We'll begin this work session of Lake County Board of County Commissioners. First up on the agenda, we have a yearly overview and review of the Mount Albert Motocross track. This will be led by Tanner, Tyson, and Brian, the fellows who will be taking over operations up there at the track. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. How's things going up there?
Good. We're currently under reconstruction of the kids track right now. Brian worked on it this weekend a little bit. You can kind of share your vision and our vision.
Yeah, so things are kind of wrapped up for the main motocross track and operation of that, but we've been kind of getting going on the kids track, trying to get that expanded. It's been kind of lacking for the last few years, so
Yeah.
we've got a new layout kind of cut in. We've got some help with some material being hauled in. Just kind of trying to get some stuff going for next year so we can put the ground running and be kind of ready to go and have a little more options for some of the younger people out there that are trying to ride.
I guess the biggest question right off the bat is how is the transfer, of the nonprofit working out?
As of right now, we're operating under Kim and Jeff.
Okay.
And under their insurance and everything. We've had walks and talks with them and Michael Irwin about it, and everybody's on the same page that we're, Brian has been a member with them for many years, helping out over there, so he's just continuing to do his work over there,
Okay.
So nothing's really changed there yet. Kim is intending on being here today, but she said she was gonna be a few minutes late. They're in the process of obviously moving across country, so they're trying to get a car hauler today that they were delayed. They thought they were picking it up here in town and had to go to BB. So,
Sometimes.
yeah, I bet she's here soon. We have talked to her a few times about taking over the current nonprofit that they run, and it sounds like her and her legal team are a little on the fence on how that would actually work and unsure of how that would work. There's a good chance that it doesn't happen,
Okay.
which we've been trying real hard, I talked to you about it a bunch. Trying real hard, just thinking that would be the most seamless way to make it happen, to just kind of have them vote, the three of us in as the new executives, officers, whatever you may call it, and then we would vote Jeff and Kim out, but I'm not sure that's really gonna happen now. Kind of to be determined.
Okay.
And, obviously we wanted that so we could make this go easier, the operating agreement, and then just moving forward with grants down the road, it sure would make our lives easier to get grants, because it's gonna be a little bit harder if we're a brand new nonprofit. Nobody's gonna give us a grant.
So what are the biggest hurdles for just having to vote them out and vote you guys in?
It's kind of up to her and Jeff if they really feel comfortable doing that and wanting to do that or not,
Okay.
So.
Does it have a board? Most nonprofits have.
Yes, they do have a board. And that was the idea, is their board would meet and they would all kind of vote on it, So they have not done that yet. So we're kind of waiting for them to do that and kind of figure that out.
But
Okay.
you don't think it's actually gonna happen?
I have my doubts.
Okay. I'm sorry, so they're moving across the country, but let's say you guys didn't get voted in.
Right.
Would their plan be then to still run it?
No.
Okay, so what do they think is gonna happen?
So they, in a perfect world, I don't wanna speak for Kim, cause
Of
she's not
course.
here.
Yeah,
But I think in a perfect world, they would dissolve their nonprofit. We start our own, which we have started it. We have a certificate of good standing with the state, the Secretary of State already. And that we would just come to an agreement and have a new operating agreement with the county.
Okay, and what's the harm in that,
The harm in what?
in that route?
I guess, you know, after talking with you, it just would be a little bit more seamless to, because their operating agreement goes till May, I believe. So we would just, you know, be the new officers of the nonprofit.
Right, yeah,
And we
yeah,
would just be, we would run that and then we would probably just try to renegotiate come May again. I don't know exactly, like, if this meeting would have been their renegotiation period or not. And then the grants would be a huge thing for us because we do, and as this meeting goes further on, we'd love to share like the three of our vision of how we'd like to operate moving forward, which is like the most exciting part of this meeting.
cool,
And so we believe that it's gonna change the track a little bit and change the income. And we believe that we're gonna need some help bringing some money in to maintain the equipment and, you know, just do things our way and hopefully better, you know?
okay,
I think my gut is saying it would probably be easier with insurance too, to move forward as an existing group instead of telling an insurance company you're a brand new group and you want the same level of insurance, it would probably jack that up
Yeah, I'm curious
potentially.
about that. The one good thing is they work with Aero Insurance down there out of Frisco, which is where we run our electrical business insurance out of. We have a very close relationship with a lot of those agents down there. So I think we could work that,
Okay,
but there's always potential for that, for sure.
yeah,
I get that logistically it'd be easier, but also relationally, it might be easier to just start over if it's not moving.
Yeah,
Right,
we're not
yeah.
like hell bent either way.
Okay, cool.
We just kinda thought, you know, it'd be sweet.
Yeah. It would be
It'd be-
seamless, yeah,
Yeah, it'd be a lot
Yeah, yeah.
easier, but at the end of the day, it's not like you know, if we can't take it over, we're out. Like,
Yeah, okay,
we're
cool.
not a make or break. No, not a deal breaker by any means.
Cool.
Just for grant getting purposes though, it's great to already be established and
Right.
have that, you can show prior,
Yes,
you know,
right.
income.
That was kind of the bigger
You know.
thing for us in general,
Mm-hmm,
because nobody writes a grant for a brand new nonprofit. It's just, nobody does. I've already met with the grant writer, you know. She pretty much was like, yeah, you need a year of filing with the IRS to get a grant. And the other thing, and which I'm sure we're gonna get into as we go over our operating agreement, is kind of the terms of the agreement and the length of the agreement.
Mhm.
You know, if it's a 1-year agreement, nobody's gonna write a grant on that either, you know?
right.
So, the longer the agreement, the easier a grant would be. Now, in my mind, I've slightly pivoted, my perspective on the grants, just going kinda like, man, I'm not sure we're gonna get any for the first few years, that's fine. So then, you know, another thing I wanna talk to you guys about is, you know, like the donations, right? We're gonna be looking for donations. And then that comes to the topic of whether we're a C7 or a C3, which as of right now, the current operators are a C3 nonprofit. They were a C7, but I think the previous county attorney pushed them into becoming a C3. No idea why. I'd love to get some sort of intake on why that
She's
happened.
here if we wanna
Okay,
let her
cheers.
chime in. Chris, do you have any, if you're listening, do you have any recollection or input on the transition for Mount Albert Moto or the timeline on that, when from C7 to C3 or?
I was not involved in that at all. I'm not sure where that's coming from. They had presented themselves as a 501c3, but a review of filings for that, there weren't any filings found. And so then I can look through my emails. I believe it was Kim that came back and said they were shifting to a 501c7. So I wasn't involved in that type of a conversion with them. But I know previously in negotiating the operating agreement, they had represented they were a nonprofit, but it appears they had not actually filed the documents to be a 501c3.
Okay,
Well, nonetheless, I mean, it really, at the end of the day, probably doesn't matter then what happened with them. I guess I was curious if, you had a take on, what we needed to be to, move forward with an agreement, or if you had.
I mean, from my perspective, I'm not sure it matters the type of entity.
Right.
For, in terms of, I think that's kind of the decision for
Okay.
you all to make in terms of what structure works
Yep.
best for you, and then we would work out whatever contractual relationship needs to be made with the county.
Okay, agreed, and we'll reach out to our own council to, figure out what makes most sense for us. And go from there. I guess that's a non-issue.
I mean, what I recall that conversation being like, I mean, I don't know who changed what or when,
I don't either.
but being a 501c7 is a membership nonprofit.
Correct.
And so when we talk about like accessibility, equity being of value to the community, I think that was the only time I remember that coming up, is if you're a membership organization, then who's allowed to come play and when, and
Right.
how does the public and our youth have access to a club as opposed to a park?
Yeah, a C3.
Right,
Yeah.
so I think that
right.
that's what I recall, but there wasn't any, that's all I remember about it.
I think Kim had explained it to us like it was, you pay $30 to ride, and it was like 29 of that was the track fee and $1 was a membership fee.
Correct.
So that was how they were in compliance with the C7.
Right, and the
Yeah.
sketchy part of that is like, okay, but then all your memberships, everybody who's a member is supposed to vote and participate in your nonprofit. And that's different from having like a pass to go ride.
Yeah.
So when
it
you're a
was-
member of a 501c7, you're supposed to actually participate in the nonprofit,
And not just the board members,
yeah. Cause you have to vote for your board members and it's
as a
your,
member.
as a member, and so you're supposed to have like a certain amount of people show up to vote to actually get to your threshold of a quorum.
Right.
And so that's what I recall being pointed out of like, that's not really a
Well,
way to do it.
and again, we need to reach out to our own personal attorney to see what
Yeah,
they, wanna point us in the right direction there.
yeah,
Just
Yeah.
cause it's a little over our head,
Well,
but
the bottom line is it's an asset for the community and there's a ton of people who use it. It's a
Right.
valuable thing in my view to have here. So whatever path you guys wanna go forward, we'll do what we can to help you guys out.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, a C3 somewhat helps us because of charitable donations,
yes,
And if we're a C3, we're able to give that donator
tax rate,
a tax break.
yeah,
And I think we'll have much better success
heck yeah.
being a C3.
Can I share a wild anecdote? I'm going to, cause I'm a commissioner. I get to just do it. So I went to Portugal this summer with a girlfriend and I went on a food tour of Lisbon. And I ran into a guy who was like, what do you do? I was like, I'm a commissioner in Leadville. He's like, Leadville, Colorado? I was like, yeah. He's like, I love riding there. He was from Florida. He says he comes up with his son at least once a year and has
No
been
way.
for like 10 years. And he's like, please don't let it close. I was like, girl, don't worry, I'm not touching it.
That's awesome.
Isn't that wild? It's like seeing
That's
somebody with a belly.
crazy.
Yeah.
Small world.
Yeah.
That's neat. Yeah, a lot of people travel from all over
Yeah.
and love the track.
That's so cool.
It's neat. It's
That meeting that, it was like last year, roughly, I don't know if it was a year ago and it was like
Right.
talking about the track, like what's going on with it, with the previous board. And listening to all the people chime in online was what really, it blew my mind, where it was like the stories that people had about how they're coming up here, where they're coming up here from, what got them into dirt biking, the ability levels of people who were really stoked on this track, which was super eye-opening. obviously there was some controversy in the community, like, oh, the jumps are too big, it's too hard, it says, and listening to how many people were like, my kids are just learning, or I am just learning, and this is our favorite track in the whole state, and we feel the safest here, and it was just person after person after person all saying the same things that really turned things around for me as far as like, I think it's good as it is, like, without, within reason, like, I didn't
Right.
think that, that's when I started digging into the whole like flaggers and lighting systems and how that actually can make things worse in a lot of situations, and it's just extremely cost prohibitive, and as long as the insurance levels are up to where they need to be, then I think, I don't see any problems with how it exists as it is, obviously if you guys wanna make improvements, that's cool too,
Yeah, it'd be fun to hear your vision.
Yeah. Will you share?
but what's the vision?
What are your dreams?
I mean, I'll start by just saying like, the way it's run now, we're not gonna be able to operate it the way that right now is every day that it's open, Jeff or Kim is on site.
Mhm.
And we have pretty full plates as it is, I mean, we're totally willing to put in the work and the time, but we're gonna have days where we're not gonna be able to be on site. So we've all discussed on going to, we're gonna try to build a website and try to do online waivers and online payment. And so when you get on the website, you sign up for a day pass, you sign your waiver, and then it emails you and probably texts you a code to the gate, and then you can go up there and ride. You'll have to click, yes, you agree to all the terms and conditions, all the safety rules and everything, and then, you go up there and ride without somebody on site. If it's a day that we're not up there and we're not preparing the track to be watered and tilled and whatnot, ripped. So that would be like the first thing, is to just try to get more people there on more days, I wouldn't say 7 days a week, right?
No, it'd be too hard to maintain, yeah, it's,
Right.
the way it is now, it's like keeping the jump safe is kind of one thing, that you can keep up with pretty easily. Keeping it watered full time is kind of a whole nother battle entirely, so I think we could keep the baseline of like safe jumps and a track that's like rideable and safe for most people to ride. And maybe just not have that fully prepped, fully watered surface that people are used to on every day that it's open. So it'll be a little bit of a compromise with more days open, but maybe not like that full prep that everybody's used to on the Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
And there's other things that we wanna bring along too, like, we tried to implement some kids rides, this year on some afternoons, so we'd like to get, another reason why we're expanding the kids track, we'd like to market it more towards families and more towards the youth and getting kids to come up to this track and making it more of a family thing. So maybe doing, like in the past once a month on Tuesdays, Amy Quack would do Girls Ride Tuesdays. So maybe other Tuesdays we can do Kids Tuesdays or however that may look, but try to get more youth there at the track.
how did the locals Friday experiment work out for this year?
I think pretty well. You were there the one day, it was cranking, right?
Yeah.
It was really good.
Okay,
I mean, there were some days where nobody really showed up.
okay,
And so that's why, the whole online payment gate code thing works, on days like that. And then we can kind of, work between the three of us and maybe other members or volunteers, however that looks, can kind of go up there and police it, make sure, people are actually paying to go and not just sharing a gate code with their buddy,
yeah,
mhm.
how often do you think you'd be able to change the gate codes out, cause that's.
We could do it weekly. I mean, they make smart locks now and we all live here in town.
Yeah, you could have a smart lock.
That was our thought, is
Yeah,
every
that's the
week
way.
we change the code,
Yeah,
and maybe,
You could even have unique codes for different people with a
Yeah.
smart lock.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different options there, and like I said, worst case, we all three live in town and we can run up there and change the code.
yeah,
And we've talked about having like wireless cameras too that we can link into with our phones that kind of keep track of who's going in and out, so if you know one person's got the gate code and they got a truck full of 4 people, then maybe it's time to swing by and have a conversation, but
Yeah,
it's kind of stuff we're still trying to iron out, but yeah, there'll be some different improvements we'll have to make to try and switch over to the more online type thing, so.
cool.
Is there power up there?
No.
Electric?
No, but Legacy Electric might donate some solar power and
Do you guys know about that? Like, do you know how to like manage some electric?
I hope so.
I hope so too. Prove it.
Alright.
You know someone?
Yeah, the other thought is like the service isn't great up there.
Right.
So that's when I say email and text, like,
Yeah,
we wanted to text everybody the gate code and proof of payment. So you go up there and you're like, hey, there's, like you said, only one person paid, but there's 5 of you guys riding. Let's see your confirmation email, and they're like, oh, they don't have service, and it's like, wow, I sent you a text too, So I'm working with a website designer to get a quote right now on building a website that could implement those things, which I think would just be neat. And then, if we're there on site, we can take payment on site too,
Yeah.
for the weekend or whatever. And have paper, waivers as well if somebody rolls up and forgot to pay, or if somebody did get caught being a little shady and you're like, come to the gate
yeah,
or to the, the shack and give me money and sign your waiver, So we would have both systems.
I know that's how it used to run up there, and I always wondered, like, who all's just giving the gate code to their buddies and, back in like the Bordonia days and stuff. And I wonder that about the arch, other local clubs that we have that run that same way, like when I'm up there recreating with other groups, different sites and stuff, I'm like, how many people here actually paid to come in here today, like, so sounds like the heaviest lift is trying to like modernize and automate and get to a level where you kind of keep a better eye on things, but move to a little more like hands-off physically, but keep a better view on what's happening up there. And I think just from like liability standpoints, that's probably a pretty important aspect to get covered. I felt like I'd heard something the guys at the airport were willing to work with, trying to get a internet signal over to the Moto property. Kim had mentioned something like that at one point, or maybe Josh said something to me that they were open to the idea of trying to run a hard line over to the hut.
Yeah, there's potential, and we've talked about, I don't know how realistic it is anyway, but if we were able to get solar power, maybe we have the option to put some Starlink in or something that, but I don't know how that works if you sign on, if you can only allow it to last, 10 minutes or something like that, so people aren't just sitting there all the time poaching. And I don't know, it's just kind of thoughts that come to mind.
Yeah.
start small,
Yeah,
get it done.
yeah.
So, I don't ride, but I'm very moto curious. Can you tell me what,
Moto curious.
pay attention. Can you tell me what is a kiddie track? Like, it sounds like for children, but for somebody like me who would be a brand new rider, I could not handle like blind jumps. Would a kiddie track be friendly to a
Yeah,
noob?
definitely. We're trying to set it up in a way to where it's like good for adults that are either beginners or adults that ride pit bikes. That's kind of a popular thing these days too, so.
Okay,
It's kind of just a smaller track, everything's on a smaller scale, slower speeds. It's still gonna have good dirt and manicured jumps and all that stuff, but it's not gonna have like as high of a risk factor basically, so.
okay,
For the kids, it's great, on their scale, it's something they can learn on and kind of like use as a stepping stone to go to the big track, but then for adults, it's something they can either just go play around on or as a beginner, it's something they can kind of learn the ropes with.
cool,
For sure.
cool.
That's something that's really exciting right now, it's gonna be a big improvement from what it was in the past, so we're really trying to push for it and have it done by like the springtime and ready to go, so.
Amazing,
Yeah, be a little tricky trying to get it all done before it's frozen and so, but
sure,
it's kind of what we're aiming for right now at least, so.
nice.
And right now, they do split practice, you know, from 11 to 2, every 20 minutes it changes from what they call expert AEB riders. And then C riders, beginners and small bikes. And so it changes every 20 minutes. And the way we've seen it is those 20 minutes of split practice for the kids in the C class, it gets a little dicey because some of the expert riders don't see the sign change or see the flag change. And so there's a lot of expert riders out there with the kids. And so it'll help keep that a little safer, of keeping more of the kids over there. I think we still do split practices. And our new thought is, let's do 40 minutes for adults, let's do 20 minutes for the small bikes, because they're gonna have a much larger track over here to practice on. And we're gonna police it much more. So I think it'll work in conjunction with each other a lot better than what it is now, because a lot of the kids, for instance, our kids that ride, the track, the mini kids track right now is so small that our kids are like, Dad, this is boring, I don't wanna do this, you know, and my son's 8, you know, and then split practice, he'll go and ride the big track and loves it.
Yeah.
But I think if we split the practices a little different time-wise and have a better kids track, they're gonna really go enjoy those 40 minutes on that track and then enjoy the 20 minutes
Yeah, I
on
mean,
the big track.
you can look across the entire country and there's people who consider themselves like C class or amateurs, and they should definitely not be mixing with the amateur group, you know, so that's not limited to up here for sure. And how to separate that, yeah, that would be, if the beginner track was expanded, that would really,
I think it just makes everything safer.
yeah.
And it just brings more families. You know, cause so many families are like, man, we're gonna just keep going over to Gypsum because they have multiple different tracks, and right now Leadville's a peewee track and a big track, you know, there's no real in between, so. Yeah, it's super
So you're
exciting.
turning the peewee track into more of like a beginner track
Yeah.
for everybody.
Yep.
That's cool. Okay. One of the things that's been talked about in this room about the motocross track is how often it's open,
Right.
and I'd love to hear, not 7 days a week is not what you're planning, but what kind of availability or hours are you thinking about?
So pretty
Right.
similar to what they've done, and then just adding here and there, like definitely like the Friday locals day, super cool, you know, I think we gotta keep that. Saturday and Sunday fully open, but I mean, we'd like to say every Friday is a local day. And this is, you know, stuff that we need to, once we've solidified this agreement, we can really, or maybe we need to do this before we solidify it, but we need to really sit down and look at calendars and see what really would work, but I would say like every Friday would be kind of a gate code local day. You know, we'd love to see most Saturday and Sundays full prep as much as we can handle. And then we could add days in there, you know, like Tanner mentioned, girls ride Tuesdays, you know, once a month, and then every other Tuesday is a kids ride. Whether that's a gate code thing or not, I would think that would be a gate code thing, you know, 3 to 7 every Tuesday during the summer, you know, kids are out of school. Or maybe we just open it on Tuesdays, like Tuesday gate code day, you know? And we're open to suggestions too. I don't know, they used to do the Thursday night thing, that was really fun, that was pretty popular.
Yeah, it was always popular, for sure.
What is it with the airport, they don't like the mornings? They didn't want,
Yeah, I can't remember exactly.
because the wind direction, they didn't want dust being kicked up
So
for,
10, open at 10.
okay,
I mean, probably gate open at 9 or 9:30 usually,
yeah.
but no riding till 10.
Okay,
And then this year was till 4. The three of us haven't really discussed like opening, closing hours. But I would say it's pretty similar to,
Yeah, I don't really see a reason to change it from that 10 to 4 window.
okay.
and I think the airport did like that window best.
I remember Kim saying that she felt 4 was like erring on the side of caution for like noise stuff, that, cause I mean, it used to be till like dusk,
Oh,
like
yeah,
back,
dark.
um.
Someday
which-
we'll have it lit.
Well, there's that, and then
That would
there's
be fun.
the time
Right?
that it takes to prep the track for the next day, and I
Okay.
think that's a big reason to
Mm.
shut it down a little early too. You know,
Okay,
cause it does take quite a bit of work to
alright,
get it prepped for the next day.
okay,
But I guess we could be open to
Mhm.
extending or whatnot if need be.
well, there's like new caretakers coming into the role, there's gonna be like some transition period, and you guys feeling things out, what you have bandwidth for, what you're able to pull off. Sounds like there's gonna need to be some investment in like updating the systems. And then, you know, does the current track have any money left in a fund or anything?
We're hoping so.
Okay, who's on the board? Like, I know
So
Kim, Jeff, Nick,
Brian, you're one of them.
Ryan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nick,
Max, was that
Scott,
Scott, okay.
Jeff, Kim and Richard.
Scott's been involved up there forever.
Yeah, me and Scott have been up there the longest, I think,
Okay.
and Richard and Nick in the last few years have joined in.
Okay,
And Scott and Nick have expressed interest to stay involved,
okay,
which is super neat, cause they know how it goes up there.
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, we're hoping, so Kim has mentioned, you know, gifting our nonprofit some things, you know, some like signing over title to equipment. And hopefully a little nest egg, you know, of some money to get us started, you know?
okay,
So, we're certainly crossing our fingers that happens, you know?
got it.
But yeah, we're gonna have to do some fundraising.
Yeah. What's my next?
Find some donations, you know?
Yeah,
You know, I think having a new payment processing and like online, whatever, sign up
Right.
will be valuable for being able to go out for grants, because if you can show demographics, you'll actually be able to justify who you're serving and therefore have better leverage for actually accessing grants. Right now, there's no way to say, oh, we serve this many locals, this many youths, they come on these days, this many Latino, these
Yeah.
many beginners, this many people who've never been in motocross before, like, there's no way to actually, you can't put any of that into a grant right now,
Right, I mean,
So-
she does keep track of that on paper.
okay,
I have seen her piece of paper, she's got every county marked out in the state. She marks out where everybody's coming, so I mean, cause,
there's some
so
data
she has done a little
collection,
bit of that for sure,
yeah, but you'll be able to
but
automate it,
big time.
and you'll actually be able
And
to
then generate a report,
Yes.
which would be neat, for sure.
actually
Probably go
collate
a long ways for a grant.
what you're doing,
Yeah,
yeah,
take it from a notebook to actually report generation.
yeah, click a button.
Right.
Um,
seems,
kind of random off topic, I love the Girls Ride Tuesday things, I like the, you know, I have a lot of friends who've been part of that. If that's like a regular thing, is there any like problems there with people being like, oh, well, I'm a guy and I wanna ride, I'm feeling discriminated against, you know, like, would that ever be an issue?
It's always an issue these days, isn't it? I mean, potentially, yeah, I mean, it seems to be arising every.
Well, that sucks, cause Girls Ride Tuesdays is
Do it
awesome.
anyway,
It is
who
neat,
cares?
And could it be formed in a way like that Amy Quack's Girls Ride 2 members are, you know, it's only her members that are allowed to ride that day?
Right, like it's just an event for a group.
Yeah.
Cause that's she has her own, like, she has her own nonprofit, right?
I don't know what it is.
I don't know if it's a nonprofit or not, but yeah,
Okay.
cause I've
It's
helped
been
her
around
on
for a
that for the
while.
last couple of years, as she's been a little more absent out of town.
Yeah,
You can figure it out.
yeah,
But there has, like, she's done, you know, we're friends with her, so she's like, oh, bring your boys, they should come ride on Girls Ride, you know?
yeah,
So, I don't know, I'm obviously not worried about any of that,
But
but
it's a good point to bring up, maybe.
yeah, you know, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate, and I feel like, you know, I'd rather get stuff out on the table now than have it come up later and be like, oh, you know, just.
And so that's something that or in the agreement, there was something about, no special events. Is that, did you?
well, yeah, you would need approval to have a special event.
I think that the origin of that was that it wasn't covered for insurance reasons. But that was, I think the interpretation of the verbiage was up for debate, cause it was kinda like, you can't have races. But then the definition of races was, the word events were used, so it was kinda like, there was some question marks there.
Cause I know Moto Demption has reached out to Kim and Jeff, I don't know if you're familiar with
Yeah.
that organization, but they really wanna continue the involvement with their program. Maybe even add another event, so, you know, that would be to me a special event that may need approval, but really like to keep that alive.
The trick was just like navigate it properly.
Right.
Yeah,
It's not, you
Which we
can't have
can do.
special events, it's like, hey, if you have a special event, it has to be insured. And you have to prove to us that it's insured, because currently
Right.
the insurance wasn't covering special events. So
And
then
that
we weren't
seems-
gonna cover special events, so just show that you have insurance for it.
Yeah, easy enough, and
Yeah.
give you guys a heads up, approval prior to doing that, cause the other thing we wanna do is, you know, do demo days, like, you know, have Yamaha bring up their big, you know, 18-wheeler full of dirt bikes and
which they've done, and it's awesome.
and it's been incredible, you know, those are big days for the track, and those are awesome days for, you know, especially the locals here in town that haven't been able to ride a newer bike and see what that feels like, you know?
Yeah, or, you know, youth or smaller people, or who wanna try a TTR 125 or something.
Right.
Yeah, they bring the full range.
Yeah, and so we wanna reach out to different moto shops, you know, and try to partner up with some, you know, moto shops around that could do demo days or help sponsor events out there, but yeah, I think it's just a logistics thing that you just work through prior to that event.
Yeah.
And get it on the calendar, you know, seems easy enough to navigate.
Insurance.
One thing, so this current operating agreement, right now, we've kind of discussed the hours of operation and days of operation. And you and I spoke about this over the phone, it says, during which time operator shall have a competent, reliable supervisor on duty at all times during operating hours. I'd love to pull that out of there, for the gate code topic, you know, so people can come and go as they please. And just, you know, people are signing waivers before they go, so we'd love to see that come out of the, I mean, obviously, moving forward, if it is our new nonprofit, going into agreement with you guys, we'll doctor up a new operating agreement. I just wanna throw it out there that I'd like to see that out of there. Cause we don't wanna have somebody there all the time, cause then we won't be able to be open as much.
I think, you know, like, it sounds like how would we make sure that things are, you know, staying safe up there if there's no one on site? I guess the switching to a camera system is probably the best solution for that.
You need some sort of safety plan, if there's not gonna be somebody up there, I'm assuming,
Yeah,
like for everybody's insurance and safety.
right,
Yeah, for you
So,
guys as well as
You'll
us.
have to have strong signage, you'll have to have your waiver system in place. You'll have to have some sort of backup for like, oh, if it's not going well, what happens?
If you're gonna have to
And-
enforce your rules, you know, you're gonna have people poach for
Right.
sure.
right,
And, you know, you wanna make sure you're just not letting that sort of slide
right.
when they do. It needs to be some, I would think, some pretty stiff consequences for people.
My thought was, I wonder if we
Yeah.
can get the sheriff's department a feed of a camera that's up there, so that if you guys see something that's concerning, you can call dispatch and say, hey, we've got some concerns, can you send, you know, cause maybe you guys are at work, maybe you can't
Right.
pick up right away, and we need to lean on law
Yeah.
enforcement to help out.
And
No, I feel like they would need to have a safety plan, somebody who can be called to go up there and call about trespassing, cause that's ultimately what it would be. Like, we can't ask the sheriff's department to police the moto track.
Well, I think if we have cameras on it, and it's like, hey, there's only been two two
Two payments.
purchases today and there's 4 cars up there.
Well, I'd say we'll police it,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Members, yeah.
yeah, us and the other members will usually police it, I'm not worried about that at all.
Yeah.
I like the idea of, you know, when you roll in through the gates, there's 2 signboards that are empty right now. We plan on filling those signboards with rules and regulations or whatever, you know, and safety. I like that idea, Elsa, just put a safety plan there, you know, and it's written and everybody sees it and it's also in the waiver that you sign.
Yeah.
You know, and then, yeah, it's posted. And the other thought is gypsum track, what's the lady's name, Jen?
Jen Swisher.
Yeah, I plan on reaching out to her because this is how they operate over
Okay,
there.
this is how Dry Lake runs?
Yep,
Oh.
You can also
they're-
have like a
Is that
safety
county
video.
property or-
Dry Lake's on 3 different, it's county, it's CPS and town, yeah, county, gypsum and Colorado Parks, CPW, sorry.
So you can also have like a video that people have to watch before they actually get to click, you know,
Right.
that they accept
yeah,
the consequences. And that could, you could just like hone in on what are the 3 things they have to know
right,
about your
That's-
safety plan.
I leaned heavily on Jen Swisher's advice to figure out how to get things sorted out last year. And Dry Lake's been running pretty smoothly for a long time, they have a pretty dialed setup over there, so anything that mirrors what they're doing over there, I'd be pretty comfortable with.
yeah, I might reach out to you and get some contact.
Yeah, I can forward you her email and I have her phone number too.
You guys, ultimately, you would be using, anybody managing the motocross park is using a public asset.
Right.
And so that's the conversation that we're trying to have with anybody who's leasing or operating public lands managed by the county, whether it's Cooper, the golf course, you guys, archery range.
Right.
It's like, hey, please make this accessible to as many people as you can. Please prove it, that you're doing that. Please consider safety as paramount. And
Do whatever we can to reduce liabilities for the county, because
Yeah.
our job is to make sure the taxpayers aren't gonna be on the hook if worst case scenarios happen.
Right.
And it's always a really hard conversation, especially with the stigmas surrounding motorsports. So the more we can do to kind of alleviate those concerns, the better it is for all of us.
Agreed.
and the more you can help our community access this sport,
Right,
that is the goal,
oh, that's
right?
kind of our mission.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think that in the past, we've also asked for like more reporting from any nonprofits, like, okay, can you tell us whether, cause we're granting you the land. Not technically, but you know, we're
Right.
partners in that, so it's like, hey, can you show us who you're serving? Can you show us how often you're serving them? Can you demonstrate like how you're helping people who haven't accessed the sport, access it in equitable ways? Like, that's what I would wanna hear as a commissioner, no matter what the sport is.
Right.
Yeah, cool.
Another thing on the operating agreements is we have to, give you guys like a calendar of events leading up to the next month. You know, we definitely intend on doing that. One thought is, you know, there could be some changes made on the fly, like, oh man, Brian's got Wednesday off, let's do full prep Thursday morning. You know, or we just got a bunch of rain last night, you know, we don't have to do a bunch of watering, let's just go in there and rip the track and whoever's off on a Thursday is gonna be stoked, you know?
Yeah.
So, are we open, are you guys open to like making those changes on the fly for the calendar, you know?
yeah,
Trying to open for
Yeah.
random days.
I don't see why there would be a problem having like a, to the best of your ability,
Right,
within reason kind of addition to that,
There were
so.
2 reasons for that. One was the insurance issue, where we wanted to know if if currently events aren't covered, if you're going to be doing events, please let us know what those days are, so we can cross-check them against the extra insurance that you're purchasing. But the other part was that we have a whole marketing arm of the county, and we wanna make sure that what's happening up at the motocross park, we can help get the word out.
right,
So it's also to like help spread the word, so if we know what's happening, Adam and our whole marketing team can actually prep some media content, they can get it on the schedule, they can like build some media packages around it. So it's to be partners that we want that too.
Cool.
But yeah, if you're gonna just open it on a random day, that's sweet.
Right, I'm glad you mentioned his name, I didn't think about kind of reaching out to him and putting this in his court a little bit too, and saying, hey, let's pump this.
Yeah, Adam's always saying that he can market whatever products we have, so if we don't have a product,
Right.
he can't tell people about it, so as soon as you have a product.
Head of tourism, I don't know what his.
Yeah,
Tourism economic development, yeah.
he's got an
Award-
office over at the visitor center.
Award winning.
He's award winning, he just got
I
a
saw
governor's
that,
award.
yeah. Another thing, operators shall not allow any camping or overnight parking at the premises. I mean, we've kind of talked, we don't really plan on, like, we don't really love the idea of opening the camping up to anybody, you know, because it can get hard to manage. But I do believe there's gonna be nights that, you know, like, we all have campers, right? And some of the other operators, like, we're gonna be putting in some long nights, early mornings there, you know. What's your guys' take on, like, if we had a RV up there for operator to stay or a few people, I don't know.
Can you let Kim in, please?
I would love to see if there was a way we could figure that out for operators. I feel like it's a slippery slope and it's a real hard one to dial in, I guess, because I don't know, like,
Are you guys permitted for camping up there?
Well,
Cause
Right.
that's, it's a zoning question, right? And it's a use question. So like if it's permitted for camping, that would be a different conversation. I think we need to start at is it permitted?
I guess I don't
Sound.
know, because that's your guys' property.
yeah, I am aware of,
I have no
People-
idea how that works.
That's what I'm saying, I
too.
don't know if it's zoned for that.
I don't think so, but there is people coming in from out of town. I'm aware that there is dispersed camping in and around the gun range, all up and down the power lines, people will camp. Whether, I don't know the logistics of whether we as a board of county commissioners can be okay with that or not, and I think going by the rules right now, I'm inclined to say no.
And I'm
Just
not
by the book.
trying, right, and we're not trying to open up camping to riders,
Yeah,
it would just be operators, you know?
we should get with the other
CPD.
groups up there that do have camping on site and see how they've managed to figure that one out.
Well, we should ask CPD if they're actually zoned for that, because if you're not, I don't know how we like allow it
Right.
technically.
Yeah, like we wanna do it right, if we can do it, you know?
Yeah.
Agreed, and again, we're not trying to open this up to riders, it would
Totally.
just be people working
Okay.
out there, you know?
And I'm just saying, I don't think we could actually write it in that you could camp if it's not zoned for camping,
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah.
Maybe,
can we're not camping,
maybe stop asking about that,
okay,
yeah.
done.
What other questions do you have?
Terms of or just like the time of the agreement, like, I know, you know, we've talked about possibly not just having a 1 year. You know, like what's
Yeah.
your guys', what would your comfort
The
level
only-
be?
The only reason it was on a year was because we just really needed to get the track open again. And we were like, you know, the best we can do right now is to get it open for a year and then we can try to figure out some of these other things after we've got it, you know, and if everything looks okay for now, then we'll go year by year until we can figure out something longer. I would like to see a longer term as well. But that's, you know, the year is too short for you guys to be able to reliably invest in anything, or, you know, like you said, grants are gonna be impossible if you're going year by year, so, you know, I feel like when the track first opened, I wanna say it had like a 10-year thing. And then it was like 5 years, and then it kinda went off the rails a bit, so, at the very least, I think a 5-year, getting back to 5-year, and if everything's smooth, maybe even, longer, but,
It all depends on how you guys are gonna operate.
yeah,
If you're gonna be an established 501c something,
Yeah,
if you're going to create accessibility, if you're going to, like, it all depends on how you're operating,
Yeah.
how we would favor
right,
a new operating agreement.
Okay.
So just
We'll
do all the
just-
things we want and we'll give you lots of room.
yeah. I mean, my original thought was like a 3-year with a 2-year extension. But again, I'm open to what everybody thinks,
yeah. We gotta get the thing back off the ground with the new group and then a bit of a change, some changes.
Yeah,
So,
You
I'm
all
not
sort
sure
yourself
what
first,
yeah,
and then we'll actually see who we're working with
Yep.
to create the ops
So
agreement.
there's an assignment
Or-
clause in the existing operating agreement, so it allows the current operators to basically assign it to somebody new with the board's permission.
oh, no way, I didn't see that.
So,
Okay.
that would probably be the easiest way to get it going.
can you tell me where that is?
It's
Maybe we would look that.
number, section 12, on page 7,
Okay.
assignment
Assignment
subletting. The other thing I was gonna say, in terms of the existing assets, because they're a nonprofit, you have to spell out how you distribute your assets when you form the nonprofit. And they said in their articles, if Mount Albert dissolves, we will distribute all assets to the Partnership for Lake County Recreation 501c3 for use toward the operations or maintenance of recreation facilities or programs in the Lake County community.
Is Placer still a thing? I didn't think it was
That thing doesn't exist.
Partnership for Lake County Recreation.
Well, I mean, that's what's in their articles.
I know, I'm
I
just
mean,
saying,
you have to distribute this other nonprofit.
Right.
You can't pocket, nonprofit's assets.
And I think, and I mean, Kim's on here, I think that's her intention.
Yeah,
oh, Kim,
go ahead, Ken,
Hello.
you see it?
Hello, the plan is to distribute all the assets to them. From our Mount Albert to their Mount Albert, everything goes to them. That's already in the plan because Placer hasn't existed in so long.
Right.
That's been the plan all along.
cool.
Thank you, Kim.
And also, one more thing, if I may, in the original lease agreement that was signed back with Bordonia and all of that, it was to be renewed in 10-year increments. And part of that had to do with because of grant funding, because there's no way Tyson and crew is going to get any kind of grant money for or even anybody making sizable donations if they think that it can all just go away, in 4 years, 3 years, 2 years. That was the whole purpose of the 10-year agreements. And when we were first negotiating before with the former attorney and county manager, they wanted 1 year. And that's why we pushed back so hard to get a longer agreement. And I know, Andy, that we did 1 year just to get up and running.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to chime in on that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kim. Yeah, it sounds like the longer duration agreements we can come up with, the better, but, there's also gonna be some growing pains, I guess, with, a bunch of changes, so we need to have the ability to revisit and maybe make amendments, periodically. I don't know how, I am not a contract specialist or a pro at things like that.
I'm gonna show you this.
I mean, I think these annual reviews are probably a good opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
You just build that into, whatever, and if issues arise, you have a good operating agreement that's should address it.
Okay.
Wait,
And
this
so-
would be the, okay,
It's a commercial industrial, you can't camp there. You could try to get
but this is,
but this little corner is ag. And ag on our use regulation is right here and it's allowable.
perfect, that's for the.
What do you guys see? I wanna see.
Can I add one thing about camping too?
Yeah,
Like, currently the insurance policy does that the club is carrying allows for camping. So if you can get it all squared away with what's allowed on the land, the insurance policy does cover.
Good to know.
But so in this corner, that's ag and they can camp there.
so wait, hold on, where's north, okay.
So that'd be on
North,
the other parking lot.
It's your northeast
Not the main
triangle.
entrance parking lot.
oh, here's the parking lot, oh, across the street.
Or
Well,
here,
here's the entrance, there's the main
Yeah.
parking lot, here's the gate.
Yep.
So it'd have to be this little slice over here.
Or-
Which is like the newest parking
Oh,
lot.
yeah, over by the porta potties.
Yeah.
I see, okay, next to the big table.
anyway, we can talk about that,
Yeah,
about making sure that
We don't necessarily need to.
we do,
I'm kidding.
we do, but
zoning.
zoning, check your zoning.
Yeah,
And then we can make sure it's written properly into your
Zone check.
operational
Okay, thank you.
use. Chris Floyd has a hand up.
go ahead, Chris.
Oh, is that the cursor?
No, I was gonna say, sorry, I did not raise my hand, sorry.
Oh.
Sorry.
Why does
That happened to me
cursor look
last
like-
night.
No, I saw
I don't
it in the planning meeting last night.
Sorry, Chris.
Why is our cursor a hand?
Something happened. It's all really exciting, y'all. Other questions, Tyson?
I guess, so if the existing club makes a statement saying they want us to take over, I gotta look into this assignment and subletting a little bit more, read through that. That would negate, I mean, that would pretty much put us in the driver's seat, right?
If the operating agreement was assigned to whatever entity you guys set up, correct?
And then upon approval, obviously.
Yeah.
And so would that happen right away, or would that take place come May, that the switchover would happen because of this agreement was?
Well, I think the first thing is you would have to get some entity set up. Have an agreement, it sounds like you kind of have an agreement in principle with existing operators already, that there's gonna be an assignment, and then come back to the BOCC to sort of, request that this operating agreement be assigned, so timing would depend on, how quickly you move on a lot of those pieces, yeah.
I don't have anything else, you guys?
Nope. Okay. Well, thanks for stepping up, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're really excited.
Thanks for being open to it.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, we're
Excited.
excited too, for sure.
Well done, Kim. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Kim.
Hello, I missed because I was late and I apologize for that. There's some action that's needed from us to say that we want them. Is that where we're at? Do I understand that?
Yeah, it sounds like that rather than having them take over the existing nonprofit, the preference is they set up a new entity. So yeah, you guys would have to make an agreement between that new entity that could, I guess you already have one, it sounds
Yeah.
like, and you all to sign this agreement to them, and then you'd have to request, the board's approval for that assignment to occur.
Okay,
And that's like
Excellent.
option, one of the main options, right? Like the other one was kinda,
The other one would be just to scrap this whole agreement and start with a new one.
well, I thought, wasn't there
That's potentially an option.
discussed about having the current board vote these guys in as the operators and then voting Kim, you and Jeff out as the operators, and they take over the existing setup in the interest of having a longer tenured organization that's more appealing to grants. Wasn't that
That's
another?
an option as well, but obviously that's not in our control at all, yeah.
Yeah, but that was like, it seemed like there were benefits to that as far as procuring grant dollars and funding. But I don't know what that looks like on the current groups and Kim, like how feasible that is or easy that would be for you guys to pull off, get the board together and have them make a vote.
Okay, well, we've talked about it and we're weighing all of our options.
Okay,
Because we entered into it with the understanding that we would dissolve it when we left.
okay.
That's how it
what
was, that's how it was presented back when I was working with Bordonia. Like Bordonia started it, and when our club took over, he dissolved his, and the understanding would be that we would dissolve ours when another board took over.
Okay, if that's preferable to you guys, Kim, then I would imagine that's probably the best course of action.
Can I ask a process question, Matt? So, this sounds awesome, I don't wanna get in the way of this happening. Is there some sort of RFP or like RFQ process we're supposed to go out for when it comes to getting a new operator for public land?
Yeah, whenever you're dealing with county assets, you certainly wanna have sort of an open, transparent process. I mean, the assignment issue, I think, is.
Mitigated.
Yeah, but
Totally.
so if they wanted to sort of step in the shoes and take over this existing agreement, I don't think you would have to go out for approval because of that. If they sort of wanted to,
Yeah.
pursue that other option where you get rid of this agreement and then they come in and request a new one, I think at that point, you're kind of back to square one.
So in May, when we are doing a new agreement though, would that
Well,
trigger
The
it?
existing agreement has renewal clauses in it.
Right,
So I think you could renegotiate it.
okay,
Even with a new entity name? Okay.
okay.
What if we change the durations? So make it easier for them to get grant dollars.
I need to look at your procurement policy a little bit closer, but,
Okay.
yeah. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Let me look at that.
Would a difference be made if we amended some of this, like some of the points that Tyson had made? Well, I think we're going to,
Yeah, I don't know that matters so much. I think once you get into sort of the timing,
Got it.
maybe the cost, if
Yeah.
that changes, those, the operational stuff, it really, that's more of a liability issue rather than making good use of the county assets issue, so.
I just want us to be eyes wide open about if that's something that does get triggered.
Right.
Obviously, you all would have a huge leg up. And probably nobody else would bid on it, but just want you to know
yeah,
that's
sure.
part of what we have to do.
It's been in the back of my mind that it's
Okay,
a possibility, but I like this assignment, so like. It's a good idea for us.
awesome.
Yeah, last question is Bullock, you gonna come ride out there with us? Get you on a bike?
I rode it a few times.
Let's do it.
I snuck in too, actually.
There you go. You gotta watch it.
Oh, no, you didn't, Matt. I know you didn't. We got cameras everywhere watching what goes on, man.
That was years ago, Kim.
Oh, okay, never mind. All right, I take it all back. But you
We
should
have
go
a
out.
geo tracker on him.
Yeah,
Oh, there goes Bullock over the fence again.
yeah.
Well, yeah, thank you guys for your time and everything,
Yeah.
this is super exciting,
Yeah.
appreciate you guys,
Thank you.
big time.
Thanks for stepping up. It's
Yeah,
nice to have
huge.
some enthusiasts taking over, cause it could just languish, without guys like you.
I mean, that's what happened to Dylan track down there, and
Mhm.
nobody wants to see that happen.
Yeah.
I mean, Brian's put in so much work himself, I mean, and certainly Jeff and Kim, we don't wanna see it go to waste.
Yeah, no.
And we love it, our kids ride it, I mean, it's
Yeah.
one of my favorite places to be.
We feel like the best hands for this amazing community asset is the Thomases. Their vision, long-term goal, like what they see that it can be, is amazing, and it's only gonna be more positive and more beneficial for the community, especially the kids. Like, what they wanna do for the kids is awesome, so it's gonna be in great hands.
Thanks so much, Kim.
Yeah, thanks, Kim, and thanks, you and Jeff for everything you did, getting the track to where it is right now.
Oh my gosh, our pleasure. It was it's a labor of love, and it's
Yeah.
been an honor to be such a part of this community that we're gonna miss terribly.
You know what we'll do? We'll get you guys a rock for up there.
We'll get you a rock.
Oh my gosh,
It's
a whole
our
rock.
inside joke. It's how you pay tribute to someone. You get them a rock, put their name on it.
And it's
Put
real.
Oh my gosh.
It's real.
That's
We'll get you
awesome.
guys a rock.
Rocker
Thank you.
Immortalized.
Awesome. And thank you guys. You guys have been such a great board to work with. Like, such an amazing board. And I love like how you guys truly represent the county. Like, it really feels like with this board, everybody within the county is actually represented. So thank you guys.
Thanks, Kim.
Thanks.
Thanks
Good
for
luck in
sticking
your
with
new
us.
life, yeah.
We'll send you postcards from South Carolina. Ooh.
All right,
Thanks, guys.
any other questions from the board?
No,
No? Okay, staff?
just stoked.
All right, well, thank you guys for coming in.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch and, let us know how things are going. You guys are good for right now with the insurance and the current operators. When the switch happens, let us know so we can get that transfer, whatever the
Yeah.
actual term.
Yeah, I'm gonna just start working on the operating agreement and getting the ball rolling. I'll work with Kim on, getting the letter of, switching, blah, blah, blah.
Cool.
All of it. We'll just start working it.
Great.
Awesome.
Look at
Thank you.
next-
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Kim. And Mike was good with the trees. You guys got that sorted?
Yeah, he's
Okay,
like,
cool.
anything within the fence line, go for it. But
Sweet.
you didn't take down that many.
No, we try and be, reasonable with anything we're doing over there. I think we've taken down like 20 trees maybe,
Okay.
so.
But you should come check it out if you're driving around.
Yeah,
He's got the layout done, it's just nothing's really built yet.
cool.
Sweet.
Excited.
Yeah, Moto Curious, you can come ride it.
Yeah,
I just need
I've
a
got
bike.
I've got a bike
Somebody
for
tell me what to
I've
do.
got a bike for you, wait. I should've showed it to you when you stopped by
You
for the birthday
should.
party.
I think I can.
Yeah, next summer, you can totally do it.
Thank you. I have a scooter,
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
right? It's just the same.
Really, come out for a girls ride.
It's not safe.
Yeah.
It's, she has an extra bike too,
Safety
and she
first.
works with all the girls, one-on-one.
I
mean,
want
all sorts.
to.
Yeah, that'd be a really good way to do it, to introduce you to it.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Sweet.
Alright,
Alright, thanks, y'all.
Thanks, guys.
thanks guys.
Do you mind leaving the door open when you get out?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, me too.
Don't you take the
5 minute.
Yeah, I know, here we
privilege?
go.
Pause us while I
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to.
I know.
Come on up,
I'm
Alan, you're
gonna
good.
share your presentation, then hand it over to you, sir.
Do you still want me to kick it off?
I would
Yeah.
like to give a couple of minutes to Jessica Downing, the Executive Director of Garna, since I'm not sure that you all are very familiar.
I know, I was like, do I stand, do I sit?
Totally up to you, whatever you feel good. We can all stand. I'll stand.
We'll play, like, what is that game where you like sit and stand? Well, okay, cool. My name is Jessica Downing. I am the Executive Director of Garna, Greater Arkansas River Nature Association. And we are I don't even know how to say it. We're not the fiscal sponsor, but we are the project home. I guess that's probably a good way to say it for the Staging Rail project. But also since, I just wanted to also introduce myself to you all, because we do some work in, Lake County. Our area is basically, we are the Friends of Arkansas Headwaters. So our area is their area. So we technically serve, Leadville all the way down to Canyon City. We are majority focused in Chaffey County, just because that's where a lot of our funding comes from. That's we're based in Salida. But I saw Brian up on there. We do some projects with Goal, We like to do a lot of cooperative projects up here. I worked with Adam Ducharme on getting Friends of Lake County started. So we wanna have more of a presence in Leadville as the capacity allows and as the community needs it. We've got some fantastic nonprofits up here, but we definitely like to collaborate. But our biggest project up here is the Lake County version of the Stage and Rail, which is the main reason I'm wanting to present to you today. Because we've been Alan has been working on this for almost 20 years. And so it's almost complete. There's just a couple more little stones, and with that, take it away.
But Garna also has longstanding agreements with the BLM and the Forest Service, so they have a very close relationship and have been for 27 years, or what is it?
29.
29 years. I was formerly the board chair of Garna in some of its earliest years, so, and I've been kind of continuously involved because I'm also part of one of their volunteer chapters called the Friends of 4 Mile, and I'm gonna leave some brochures on that with you, but that's a major contribution for more than 20 years in which volunteers have been collaborating with the BLM and the Forest Service on 100,000 acres of land in Chaffey County, helping to manage recreation. And we have quite a track record of doing that, and I'm one of the founding members of that. But at the same time, I became really interested in the historic Midland Railroad and the old stage road. And that has evolved in a way that your predecessors have been much involved with, because I've been working and coming to this room for almost 20 years now. And we'll talk about that a little bit as we go along, but can you remind me what I'm gonna do to make this advance? Or
So it's a powered or just a PDF, so you just have to scroll down until you get to your.
Okay, sure. Just to begin with, I just remind us all that there are 2 scenic byways involved here, which I'm sure you're quite familiar with. At the top of the Rockies, dating from 1993, a national scenic byway, and dating from about 2006, the state or regional scenic byway, which is the Collegiate Peak Scenic and Historic Byway. Their existing programs, they've been very well publicized, and the reason that I'm kind of introducing this presentation with them is that this stage and rail project, which basically covers both of those scenic byways, is really an adjunct. It's an additional opportunity. It's a slow speed way of making your way both through the top of the Rockies, or Chaffey County's equivalent of scenic byway, with a focus on an in-depth understanding of a whole variety of historic subjects along that route. Some that might really be missed if you're kind of speeding along the high-speed alternative, which many visitors, of course, will be doing.
A high-speed alternative, I love that.
Sorry, you guys are on the high-speed alternative here. So it's not scrolling yet, so do I have to?
Go
The other direction.
Sorry.
Here.
Okay.
Yeah, down.
And I don't want to take up a lot of time for this. Perhaps some of you are familiar with it, perhaps not, but the Canyon City to Leadville Stage Road is just one of the multiple routes that got people into Leadville in the 1870s, 1880s. Some coming from the north, over Fremont Pass, over Mosquito Pass, over Weston Pass. But in fact, the one that we've been concentrating here on is the Canyon City to Leadville route, which of course came up the canyon to Salida, eventually to Buena Vista, and then to Leadville. And that began in about the 1860s. I think people in this predecessor office gave some money to start that in 1865. So you guys have a long history of supporting the stage road. Briefly, the stage road, the stage road basically I've just described coming, particularly the Canyon City to Leadville, is coming up the canyon through Salida. It's kind of that orange line going here. The Midland Railroad is coming across Trout Creek Pass and eventually joining the Arkansas Valley, just, in Buena Vista, and then proceeding north. And our concept, which will, I think, become clear later, is that we're combining a celebration of both the stage road and the Midland Railroad where they're appropriate and available. And I will probably say it more than once, but this project is not building new trail. We are in fact adopting existing low-volume county roads and in some cases municipal trail systems, including here the Mineral Belt Trail, but in BV there's a town trail system, and of course in Salida there is. And when we approached our partners in Salida and Buena Vista and Leadville, asking them where they, as a municipality, would like to have these things designated, we said, you tell us, and if you want it on your trail system, even though it might not have been exactly there, we would do that. And as we'll see a bit later, there's a distinction between sort of pedestrian and biking options versus out on the main highways or on the county roads, and we'll see that in more detail as we go along. Just quickly, kind of giving you a sense of what all we've been studying and looking at and the basics here. This was the main type of travel from the 1865 on through the 1880s, when I guess you can imagine that as soon as railroads came in, the stage road had much less reason to be popular. But in the first 15, 20 years, it was primarily served as a mail route. The Barlow and Sanderson Rail Company or stage company had the primary mail contracts, but it was passengers as well. So we've been looking at the coaches. We've been looking at bridges, for example, because as you can imagine, in that route coming particularly north of Salida, the stage road had to cross the river a number of times, depending on the topography. And over the years, in my case, beginning in about 2006 or 7, I began looking at old maps to try to figure out where all those crossings might have been. And this is just one example. I went back to the 1881 Hayden Atlas of Colorado, and although its topography or its contour lines are not always accurate, it often made it possible to figure out where the old stage road needed to cross the river. So, for example, down here, I found this crossing at very low water. You see that? This is the remains of a crib. That you construct a crib, you fill it with rocks, and then that's your abutment for a structure across. And those structures, well, one exception I'll show you, have long gone except for the cribs, but you can find the cribs in the water. And this one happens to be a little bit farther north of Buena Vista, and the crib was actually way far above water. So, and then the actual bridge structure would have been across here. So I found that 5, 6 crossings. I managed to do that in part by using maps, in part by talking to old ranchers like a guy named Joe Cogan, who passed away, but he led me to a couple of those things. So it was a combination of kind of historic and academic type research and just talking to local people who might know. We've spent time looking at the history of granite, which I'm sure you folks are quite familiar with. This is a pre-1880 image of granite. It has a bridge there already, but there's no railroad yet by that time because the railroads didn't actually get up through the valley until the 1880s. But here I took another photograph in 2006, and of course Highway 24 is where eventually the Midland Railroad has been covered up by Highway 24, but the stage road is coming on River Left here, coming straight through Granite. And there's been a bridge, as you can see, there's been a bridge in Granite since before the 1880s, but then there's a bridge here now, which recently has been revitalized by Chaffee County. We also looked at stage stations along the way. Again, people like Joe Cogan led me to this one. It's a very long story, I won't tell you all about it, but it's north of Fisherman's Bridge there. And that's the old foundation. And here are two historic stage stations that I've been able to find. Neither of these still exist. This one was taken down and moved. This one burned down, and this, the Bale Station in Salida, or actually Cleor, which is a little south of. But here in Leadville, this one with the now modern metal roof is the only extant stage station still standing, and it's on the historic register. Garna had a hand in getting it and others in Chaffey County onto the National Register. And just quickly to just show some images of where this route has been proposed, and in Chaffey County, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. In Chaffey County, it has all been formally designated and signed. So we all the way up through north of Buena Vista has signs, all the way through the two towns have gotten signs, and then we'll see a bit of that later. But this is just some of the views as you go out from Salida to Big Bend. I'm not sure you know that area very well, but there are back roads, low volume county roads that are proposed and currently designated by your counterparts in Chaffey County. And that's been a couple of years now. And these are just some more images right around the Buena Vista area. The stage traffic was, I don't have the figures in my head, but the stage traffic was really, there might have been a dozen or more stages passing through Buena Vista before the railroads. Well, what's happening here in terms of stage road development and railroad development, of course the stage road came in first, but then the railroads, in particular the Denver and Rio Grande, were making their way up from Canyon City to Salida to Buena Vista. And of course, as soon as they got to Salida, then the stages would take off from Salida. In the beginning, they started in Canyon City, but then when the railroad took the traffic to Salida, then they started in Salida. When they got to Buena Vista, then they only had the rest of that Buena Vista route, to Leadville route. Then eventually the Denver and Rio Grande, which at that time was a narrow gauge route, was speedy and kind of outcompeted the Midland, which was a standard gauge route, and the DNRG arrived in 1881, I think, and it wasn't, the Midland didn't get there until in 85, something like that. Anyway, this is, if you're kind of thinking of what the stage road must have looked like, it was like this. This is a piece just north of Buena Vista. And it happens that I've been able to find the routes of the old stage road coming out north of Buena Vista, passed down through here, and then I found yet another bridge over here, which I think I have a picture of. It would take much too long to describe the history of the Midland itself, but just to refresh what I said before, we're trying to incorporate pieces of the Midland where it's appropriate and pieces of the stage road where it's most appropriate. That's the same map that we looked at before. This is just to remind you, some of you know, the route coming north of Buena Vista on it's a county road 371 through these kind of well-known tunnels. That's where the Midland used to. Well, the Midland built these tunnels because the DNRG had already used up the little bit of space that was off here to the left next to the river. So instead of sharing that route, they made them build tunnels through here. This, by the way, is our 4-mile brochure map that I've just taken a little screenshot from to show you that the Midland is coming across Trout Creek here. I'm tracing it with our arrow here, and it joins, the tunnels route about here. And this is just a very beautiful section north of Buena Vista going up to what's known as the Otero Pump Station Bridge. So I don't know whether you've had a chance to be there, but I live right next to this road. So I've been going up and down this road on my bike for more than 20 years. And that, I think that's probably what stimulated me to kind of make this a lifelong commitment. And the vision really is, as I mentioned before, is not to create new trails, but just to identify this route, incorporating the two historic routes. And to celebrate it, we talk about preservation, we talk about interpretation, and we talk about providing the public with an experience of whether it's a driving experience, and we'll see a bit later that this is primarily can be a driving experience as an alternative to the scenic byway experience, as an adjunct really, not an alternative. So again, this is a little difficult to, to show you all those details, but it's a 75-mile route as proposed. Something I need to mention is that CDOT never, from the very beginning, encouraged us to try to get them to formally declare it along CDOT routes. They said that would just take them 20 years to get the permits to do that. So they said, and we have incorporated in our planning, that whenever you get to a CDOT highway, you have to really say that's the end of it temporarily. And then you go, in some cases only a half a mile or a couple of miles, in some cases longer, you use the CDOT road to get to the next section. In the long term, in the very long-term planning in CDOT, when they plan to expand routes through these two counties, there will be wider shoulders, and then it would make more sense to kind of incorporate that, but that's beyond my time problem. So we have preservation, interpretation, and experience. Just quickly to give you some images that I've been able to find. I've been working for years now through photographic records, and I went back to the 1881. Here are those tunnels, by the way, still with the Midland rails in them. They were not taken out until the 1906, 10, something like that. Here's just, this happens to be Denver and Rio Grande on the narrow gauge. Can you see that? Because this was an earlier view before. And here has been one of these classic multi-purpose images that I got from 1926 that shows everything going on, because the old Denver and Rio Grande route, the narrow gauge, is right here. You can see that? And here's the 1926 expansion. And because they're quite different engineering characteristics of a narrow gauge and a standard gauge, they often can't put them on the same route. Because, the standard narrow gauge can go around sharper corners and go up steeper hills. So the engineers had to reroute. Sometimes they use the regular old route, and sometimes, as in this case, this is right near Clear Creek, right? And it's a little too hard. There's a bridge right there, by the way, and there's maybe some other photographs of that. But that bridge survived until the 1950s, and I have some photographs of the Chaffee County Road and Bridge people taking that bridge out. And this is from a 1906 black and white film, a silent film, where they recreated a robbery on the old stage. And by 1906, they still had some old drivers around, and they recruited those old stage drivers to be in that film. Cool. But anyway, I spent like 5 years kind of looking into the records to do that.
Cool.
What to say about this? Just giving. This is in your county. I mean, this is the Hayden Ranch and Valley here. Narrows down here. This is something called Two-Bit Gulch. And we'll get to this topic a bit later, but the next 3 miles of this are now in the Arkansas River Preserve. And here's the stage road going right through it. That's why I have been involved even long before the development of the preserve. I've been anxious to see this get some sort of preservation. And I've spent a lot of time just kind of exploring around that. There are wintertime activities. This happens to be south of Granite. So the planning phase, after I spent 4 or 5 years of actually talking, looking and researching, I began this vision, prepared a vision, which turned out is going to cost some money, to try to get that. And
What?
It seems that way. And I kind of modified this presentation to make sure that I have a picture of you guys, well, your predecessors right here, in this room, which I think was probably in 2008 or 9, something like that. That's Semsack, Commissioner Semsack, Commissioner Schaefer, Commissioner Bordonia was a very active part of that in those early days. Very strong support, very helpful. and the whole board was, but I need to tell a story that initially I was really only interested in the very obvious historic areas that are north and south of Granite. And that was what I was focused on, about a 10-mile section. And we knew that we were gonna have to employ a professional planner to help us do both a feasibility study and a master plan, which we'll show you more about later. But I came to your predecessors here and to the commissioners in Chaffey County with the idea of getting some match money. And they said, I think they would have given me some money, some money for this project. But they said, you know what we really would like you to do is extend your concept from the Granite area all the way to Leadville. And your counterparts in Chaffey said, well, we'd really like you to extend it all the way to Salida, which meant it went from a 10-mile project to a 75-mile project. And without consulting my wife, who has some different views on this, I said yes. It was a big change in the whole scope and scale, and it changed, from a couple of 100 hours to the 2,000 hours or whatever it is that it's. But I've had help. I had a team we put together. I guess I should have pointed out that I also have a photograph of an early Chaffey County commissioner. That's Dave Potts and Reese, sorry, and Frank Holman and myself there in the Chaffey County presentation. And we put together a team, including a previous director of Garna and a graphic designer and a professional planning firm. That we had to get a variety of grants. Over the history, we've done about 5 grants altogether, almost all coming from Colorado Parks and Wildlife non-motorized trail grant program. They've been very consistently our, but of that 100, I'm actually reading something like $155,000 in total grants, most of which went to paying our professional planners to do these documents with our help. But we got $55,000 in match, and some of which came from this table, and other match came from Leadville, the towns of Leadville, Univista. So I've been back to that well, 5 times or so, and it's been consistent. And so what we appreciate it collectively, historically, we appreciate it from this side. And we developed a series of partners. I mean, Garna being the actual sponsor from the very beginning. It helped, I guess, that I had been a Garna board chair in the early days, but at any rate, AHRA in particular was a partner, Chaffey County, yourselves here as Lake County, the city of Salida, town of Buena Vista, and the city of Leadville. So enough of that, but there's been a whole, there's a long sequence of your assistance from this office and others. Then we went through a couple of planning phases. And we created both a feasibility study, which is this document, and a draft master plan. And I need to mention at some point that our partners by that time included all of you. We collectively decided to keep it a draft, so it had enough flexibility that over the next decade, which has proved to be useful, because it didn't say it had to be here, exactly here, or if something was going to, something unforeseen came about, we could do other things. And it's actually been very, I think it was a wise choice to not try to get you guys to sign off on something that we would have to sort of slavishly follow for the next decade without having to go back and actually make a change in this document. Enough of that. You guys somewhere in this office will have copies of this. I can't leave you another one, it's my last one. But we provided printed copies, but this is available on our website, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And in fact, that's the document right here. It's kind of a fun, I had a lot of fun in producing this is the front page of the document, as you can see, but the next page of that document is this one. Mm-hmm. That's the 1885 William Henry Jackson photograph of the very same location. It was a lot of fun to go out and duplicate that. But this is another one of those historical photographs that really really grabs you when you first see it, because you've got the Midland. This is about 1885, so those are the tunnels, and William Henry Jackson was contracted by the railroad to go the whole route, which is much longer than we're talking about, and photograph it for promotional purposes and things like that. So he parked his locomotive right there, got off and photographed the narrow gauge of the Denver and Rio Grande right here. But lo and behold, that's the stage road bridge coming out of Buena Vista's right back in here. So when I saw this, I knew I wanted this. Okay. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. I mean, this whole thing has been fun. Obviously, there's a lot of work, but I probably wouldn't keep doing it if it wasn't. It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. And here, you guys, again, this is your full commission. Back in the days that Commissioner Schaefer, I think, was leading it, and this was Mike's, probably his second term. I'm not quite sure the dates there. So this master plan was committed to by all those different partners. Here's, and it's all in this document, this is our map of the full route, and then we have maps of each of those eight different sections. And we anticipated a bunch of historical sites and things like that, which later we have complied with, and I've identified those in some new website stuff. So anyway, each of these 8 sections has, and it's in this document, it has a detail, and these are kind of anticipated points of interest and activities and things that may go on in that. So we actually along the way have gotten a couple of significant awards, even based on our feasibility study on the American Trails Group, which is the premier trails and non-government organization in the United States. It's huge. They gave us a planning award in 2013, and that's that award ceremony down in Arizona. And it was really, interestingly enough, it was really on the feasibility study. We hadn't done anything yet. But they thought that the planning operation, and particularly our public involvement and our partnership development, which you guys were a part of that, they thought that was, significant. And on that basis, we were granted that. But then the locally more significant award is that out of a group of candidates, from many dozen candidates for Governor Hickenlooper's Colorado 16 Trails program, we were identified as one of those 16 trails. It didn't come with any money, but it does come with bragging rights, or whatever you would call them, to say when you're looking for grants, you can say you're part of the Colorado 16. And as I hope you well know, your own Fremont pathway, recreational pathway, in the long concept of a connection from Leadville all the way to Copper Mountain, which is now 1/3 complete. Beautiful trail. We'll see
Beautiful trail.
Yeah, we'll see it in a bit. So, and our design, even though it's not a constructed trail, but it's just an identified route, we have made to come up to meet with that eventual connection over Fremont Pass, right north as we sit here, along the Mineral Belt Trail. So that's where we intend that to have that long connection. So you could, in effect, you can drive, of course, on the historic route all the way from Salida to Copper Mountain, but you could also ride it, with the exceptions of two things we're talking about. You can ride it on a bike, so all the way to Copper Mountain, and then you can ride to Vail, or you can ride to Breckenridge, or you can eventually ride to Denver. Big deal. So we're kind of the southernmost connection of a much broader regional region.
Yeah.
So this is what the implementation, some of the second and third grants that we've gotten are to actually get things on the ground, particularly in Chaffey County. And this is, and it's good for you to see that this is the kind of signage that we're eventually hoping will be completed here in Lake County. That's another topic we'll get to, but this is what's been done in Chaffey County. Typically along, the lower volume county roads. Here is where we have a digression off the driving route to pick up Buena Vista's local trail system. And we do this in Salida as well as in Buena Vista. So that, so what else to say? And again, south end progress down there, this is right in Salida on the F Street Bridge, there's a parking area here, where we kind of share the bill with Salida Mountain Trails, has done an excellent job of doing their local trail development there. They put in this big kiosk and they allowed us, and we collaborated to fund a kiosk there that talks about the southern end of the stage and rail project. And here, for example, is a way I've kind of put that local map together that shows, you know, Salida out to Big Bend. And we've also, particularly because we're trying to make this kind of the final year here, we're working hard to do evening presentations, lead bike tours, and do audio vehicle tours. So I've done a vehicle tour from Salida all the way to BV. I've done a bike ride from Salida out to Big Bend. That's on these secondary roads. I've just very recently led a bike tour here in Southern Lake County on something called the High Lonesome Trail, which you may be familiar with south of. We'll talk about that in a minute, but anyway, the High Lonesome Trail includes the stage road, so that's why we brought that into the picture. So we're working on kind of bringing this to a not to a close, but to a point where I can be kind of backing out on that, and others can be more involved in the sustainability of this once it's already established. So one of the things we did down from Buena Vista was to assist Chaffey County's road and bridge department to actually create a bicycle lane. And what happened was that Chaffey County had funds to repave this route. It's called 313 from Buena Vista down to Johnson Village. And our project, under the leadership of a project manager who did a really good job while I was kind of backing out, she got nearly $200,000 to actually direct via the county, so that the road and bridge could go ahead and repave this route and also put in a bike lane. And I have to digress for a moment because that concept had been in my mind ever since we did that, to expand that potentially to something like County Road 5 here. But I have only recently learned that County Road 5 has just been repaved. I guess you guys know all about that. And I was really disappointed because I was going to come to you with the idea maybe our project could leverage some additional funding so that you could put a bike lane on in the very same way we did. I was really bummed out that somehow I lost track of that and I haven't been up to see that lately. Anyway, that doesn't mean that we couldn't use, you know, sort of the good offices of a project like this to say, in the future, if you wanted to do additional bike lane stuff, we could use our Colorado 16, you know, credentials and just 20 years of commitment and say, you know, go to some other source of funds than your general fund or your construction. But I was bummed out that I kind of missed, that was a missed opportunity. Anyway.
Next one.
Well, next one.
Next one.
Okay, so we did that in Chaffey County, and that was established. And this is just to illustrate that we do have routes through the communities. The town asked us to route the driving route right along Main Street. That's Main Street. And then, as you've seen before, we have a bicycle route that, you know, follows the town trail system. And this map just shows you how there's a blue line is a driving route through, and the orange line goes down through South Main, if some of you are familiar with that development. And it kind of avoids the, you know, being on city streets. But that's only available to you know, pedestrians and cyclists. Okay, I need to keep moving here. This, just to remind you of some of the really pretty sections north of Buena Vista. That's all along the river. It's a really, really beautiful stretch here. This is the remains of an old stone wall that it's part of our preservation, you know, preservation interpretation. It hasn't happened yet, but in the long-term planning, we need to direct emphasis and interest on preservation of some of these actual physical historical remains. And then the tunnels are there as well. I won't dwell on this, but as you probably know, just south of Granite, there's a pull-off, which is right here. and it's really something that the Collegiate Peak Scenic Byway put in. There are these interpretive signs, but this view, which is a view right here, this is one of those really classic things where you can see everything at once. Here's the Denver and Rio Grande, the actual 1926 modern, it's now the modern Union Pacific routes, standard gauge. Up above it's the old stage road right here. Down here is the narrow gauge of the DNRG, and rather hard to see, but the actual Midland is on this side right here. It's a beautiful piece there, but a lot of that has been overtopped by material when they actually expanded Highway 24.
It reminds me of that game, Rivers, Roads and Rails.
I don't know it.
It's like a little card game where you have to connect the river to the river and I'm surprised you don't know.
Oh, anyway.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
cool.
but sometime when you're there, just pull off into this one. But we've also created a nature trail. It's actually primitive and it's kind of dangerous when you get up to the top, but you get this view. There's a big cliff here, there's a big bluff. And so the AHRA has now really cleaned up the camping site here, which we encouraged them in this project to do. That this is now designated camping along here, 4 or 5 sites, which is really very well done. And AHRA did that with BLM assistance, because this is actually BLM land within AHRA. But we also got them to put in this little nature trail to the top, really interpretive trail. And you get this view from up here. And you're looking across at the old stage road and the railroad, and you look straight down below you, you can see the Midland. Anyway, it's a nice little, you can walk from this site right here. We put a gap in the fence, you walk over there and you can do this. Anyway, it was an example of those things that are in the draft master plan that Garna's not gonna go out and do that. But AHRA looked at this and said, and we kept encouraging them, but they looked at it and said, this is something we can do. And they did that. Just as Chaffey County Road and Bridge did that bike lane, we couldn't fund that, but they funded it. Well, they contributed $200,000 to that. Anyway, so those are some of the examples of the value of having the draft plan, I say. Then there's a whole story of the Ark River Preserve. I don't know how familiar you are with that this is a major contribution to Lake County's, public lands issues and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't want to go into that story, but as I've mentioned, I've been involved years and years before this happened. And so when some of this concept, which was driven a lot by the Lake County Open Space Initiative, which I've been representing Garna for 18 years or something. So I had a kind of a venue to kind of get my interest in there, but there are many other good reasons to have this preserve there. Just having the stage road through it is just one element. It has major contributions to wildlife and fisheries and a whole bunch of good reasons. But one of them, in my view, is that it preserves the old stage route through. And in the long term, we do hope that there's going to be a through route there from south to north for various reasons. I haven't given up on that. There are some impediments to that at the moment. But the preserve has now done its management planning. They went through a whole public process that I think you folks, maybe even in this room or others in your recreation, and Duncan's predecessor have been much involved in that. I don't want to overstep what Duncan is getting involved in. At any rate, our interest as a project is to try to pursue the public use aspect of this, particularly to make sure that the stage route is an open public route. And this I mentioned earlier, the High Lonesome Trail. This is a 6-mile loop. This has actually been in operation since about 2013. And it was really the first piece of our 75-mile project. But again, it was long a dream of people in Lukosi, particularly Mike Conlon, who some of you may know. And he's a major figure in not only in the mineral belt activities, but in this High Lonesome and another project that I'll show you in a moment to get access under the highway here. But this is just a couple of examples of how beautiful that trail is. I don't think I have a winter photograph, but it's spectacular in the winter as well. And these happen to be my adult sons who went with me on on the one day, when I turned 80, I decided I would try to ride the whole route in one day. And my sons rode with me to Buena Vista, and then they went home, and then I rode, so I.
Oh, good, you went downhill.
Yes.
Yeah.
But after this, I'm sorry, I'm digressing, after this meeting, I hope, because I bought an e-bike last week, I'm gonna ride uphill from Hayden Rec as far as I have time to come back to it, but on an e-bike, because the other time I went down, you're quite right. A lot of difference. Anyway, it's a beautiful, easy, family-friendly, pedestrian, dog walking, hiking and mountain biking route. There's high lonesome, it's one of your, and the whole history of the development of that recreational lake, which is a storage lake, you know, for Lake County water resources.
Yeah.
Mike Conlon and others had a big role in making sure that got, that's a big plus for, and here it is, a little closer, and it gives you an opportunity to hear about what else we did. That's the reservoir, and there is a very nice ADA accessible route all the way to this point, you know, from the parking area with permanent restroom facilities here, that again, Nicosia and Lake County had a lot to do with getting that to happen, and that's 20 years ago or more. But in the past 5 years, in order to kind of facilitate the completion of the stage and rail project, as well as just to simply get people safely under the highway up into the public lands.
Yeah.
Particularly Mike Conlon and others in Nicosia were anxious to get a route underneath the highway. And it was I won't bother you with the details, but it took Mike 2 years to get the permitting done. And he enlisted the pro bono help of an engineer, and together they got this to the stage where we could actually build it. It turns out that through my connections, I provided a lot of labor to do that. And because you see this culvert here, that's an 80-year-old culvert, and because it was potentially fragile, nobody wanted to put heavy equipment across there, bust it up and cost us, you know, $400,000 to replace the culvert. So all of this, 100 tons of rock was hand carried in or wheelbarrowed in from either end of the project.
Wow.
And we built about 30 or 40 these gabions, and then you hand filled them with river rock. And it was a great partnership. Mike himself was really the one to put that all together, but your county folks really helped. They delivered material, they did some of the initial construction where tore out some willows for us, but the rest of it was all hand done.
Wow.
And it took 2 years to do this, and we did Mike arranged for a volunteer for Outdoor Colorado group of about 50 people to do the finishing touches on it. Anyway, there was a ceremony back in 2022. But because we haven't completed our project yet and gotten folks around this table to actually designate that route, it's not getting much use yet, because technically there's not a through route, but we'll get to that topic in a moment. And in fact, it's the next slide, because here's the Hayden Rec site here. And our project, which is called the High Lonesome Trail, underneath the highway is here. And that allows us, in theory, and in their proposal, to get to a BLM route, and it passes through some private land, but the BLM route connects to a Forest Service route, goes back to a BLM route, and then in a kind of a critical phase, it goes across a couple of parcels of private land here, along what's known as the Pipeline Road. And then it comes out on your County Road 11A.
Yeah.
And these are all existing routes, with the exception of this little problematic section on private land. That's all available. I mean, it's available for actually in in Lake County, this is available for unlicensed OHVs as well. But it's also available for, you know, pedestrians and cyclists. And then it goes on to where my missed opportunity here for County Road 5, and then comes in on County Road 4. And this blue line here, I'll just highlight, that's the existing off-road, separate from the county road bike trail.
Yeah.
Which is, and I've just had some conversations with Sterling Mudge, who's much involved, and the county actually has a grant to do further design and planning on that. And I guess we're all hopeful that, because I have long hoped that that would be completed, because as you can see, the blue line goes out only to this point. So it does really need to be completed out to here, to its connection. I don't really know the scope of that grant, but somewhere out to its connection. This is the golf course right in here. And here's where I had hoped to get involved in having a bike lane, at least an expanded surface area on the existing County Road 5. Well, anyway, I don't mean to belabor that, but then anyway, that would be the proposed route. And at some point, we'll talk a little bit about the fact that this little piece of land here, and these private land, they're just not quite comfortable yet with your county attorney has suggested because we brought this matter to your predecessors 2 years ago, actually. And it turns out that the county attorney advised your predecessors not to make that designation until we had a written certification from those two private landowners that they didn't object to it. And that is the stumbling block that we have not gotten over yet. It turns out that, as you perhaps know, Sterling and Sarah actually own one of those two properties, and they're very supportive of this. They have been. Sarah, your predecessor, for years. They've been very supportive. It's just that they haven't gotten to the stage, and that's a little complicated. I don't want to get into that, but they're trying to do some other things up there. Anyway, so eventually, not today, we hope to come back with you after there's been some sort of resolution to that issue and ask you to formally designate all of that historic route in Lake County, which is about 16 miles. And that will allow us not only to sign, and map it, but it will also allow AHRA to, because we have not put signs on the High Lonesome section, but that's really an AHRA responsibility. But Tom Waters, the manager, is very supportive, he's anxious for us to do that, but he's waiting, and we are waiting until we get this final resolution here in Lake County before he does that.
They're all on public roads though, right?
They are, well, with the exception of the two parcels of private land, because
But they go through
they're on the
roads
pipeline road.
that go through the public.
Well, County Road 11A actually terminates at this point right here. To be honest, for the first several years, or first 10 years of my work here, I thought it was a public road all the way to connect to the BLM road, and I was wrong. And it didn't get caught in our discussions with the previous Lake County staff. So that's a blip.
Yeah, it's technically a Bureau of Land Reclamation easement across the two landowners for the pipeline.
There is a right of way.
Everybody, yes, it's a right of way, so it looks like a public road. But it's not, that one little quarter-mile section is just a BOR easement.
Yeah, it's a bit more than a quarter mile, maybe like 2/3 more.
But it's like, we can't make too much of a stink over it, because it's also what the 100 uses about.
It has for 35 years.
Yeah, so how do they get to use it?
It's a complicated answer, but I think the property owners in the past have just said it's okay without having gone through any particular.
I think because it's not signed, so it's like we're wanting to designate it with signs, and then that you add a whole nother layer of usage.
We're sympathetic to their concerns. I mean, I've always tried to make clear that we are sympathetic to that, and we're just trying to find a way to make it work.
Yeah.
Not figured out.
Right, Matt?
Put it on the list.
So, we should go more quickly, I'm sorry. Anyway, this is this happens to be that route just next to County Road 4. That's it's both paved and unpaved, they're two
different ones.
Yeah, they're two separate ones, and then it forces you to get back out up on, and that's kind of a dangerous little transition to get back to the County Road 4. I think in this, the former mayor Lobby has been really supportive. He had an 8-year term at least, I guess, on the council.
Yeah.
And he has a he has a previous interest and background in trails, and he's been very supportive. And we've already gotten some additional support from Leadville, and it's in the bank. We've got money to put in signs, but we've got this stumbling block that we haven't actually gotten it designated yet. So that's in the bank, and we've actually, in the previous times, we've gotten some money from the tourism, Lake County Tourism Program, and we had to give that back up because we ran into the speed bump. And so we may have to come back to them to see if they can help us out again.
Yeah.
Anyway, those are all the little details that I'm trying to keep in my head as we move forward. So that's on County Road 5, by the way. No, I'm sorry, that's on County Road 11, south of 300, where you get this beautiful, sorry, that's Lake Critter, East Fork, sorry, I'm suddenly spacing that out. That's the
Half Moon.
that's
That's the East Fork,
that's the East Fork, yeah.
or North,
And this
East
is,
Fork of the North Fork, or something. North Fork of the East Fork.
it's my favorite little stretch there, cause it's beautiful,
Yeah.
but it happens to be private in there.
Yeah.
And this is coming back down to the Hayden rec site and here. That's when I'm gonna go up on my e-bike this afternoon if I have time, just so I can see what it feels like to go up that hill. And this is a little too obscure to tell you about, but this is a two-track that I believe the Leadville 100 uses, but I've never followed them there. But this is on county land, and it's not a system road, it's not one of your named roads. But it's a beautiful little alternative that keeps you out of the gravel pits. Do you happen to know there's a county-owned gravel pit on the north side of 311A, and there's a private one on the south. But this little jog takes you away from the county's gravel pit, it's beautiful. So, okay, moving on. You can see that we're getting close to the end over here. And this, you have obviously been on, this is that piece
so
of the Fremont pathway. And I'm illustrating it here, this in blue, I think it is, but at any rate, this is the 2.5, 3 miles of this beautifully engineered route.
It's like $1 billion.
Well, yeah.
It's such a beautiful route.
The bridge is a pedestrian-only bridge across 91. Is $1 million investment.
Right.
But it takes you from left to right to eventually go through climax. And that, to digress for a moment, I am very hopeful that you folks and Lake County itself kind of reinvest your interest. I'm sorry, I'm being promotional here, but
You can lobby us now, that's why you're here.
I'm anxious that this whole concept, because that's the missing link now. And there are issues related to climax, not being exactly sure where they want that to go through, and I'm not connected to that negotiation. But once you get through climax, you're on Forest Lawn. And to be clear, this is a concept which has a separate paved trail off of the highway.
Yeah.
And that's, among other things, it's a wonderful recreational resource, but it's potential for the Courage Classic and for the Copper Triangle.
Yeah.
I did the Courage Classic when I was like in my 70s with my daughter. It was wonderful, bonding. Enough of that. But it's a major recreational contribution to that county, and you guys can be a part of it when it makes it all. And then you can connect to the historic route going all the way to Salida. Okay. Oh, what are we talking about? Oh, and just to point out that, very few people are gonna do what I did and ride the thing in a day or whatever. But I did it, probably my ego had something to do with that, but at any rate, because, I turned 80 and
You gotta do it.
I didn't have an e-bike yet. Yeah. Maybe now I can start in Salida.
Oh my gosh,
I don't know,
Alan.
but I may have used up my chips. But at any rate, you don't have to do the whole thing. You can start in at any location. And here, I'm just illustrating the fact that there's a really nice ride from Salida or even from Cleora, which is down on Highway 50, all the way out to Big Bend, and with an in and out. And I have some long-term ambitions of being able to cross over, down here and come back off of the main roads. I mean, those are things that, somebody in the future can deal with. So that's people just out on one of those roads to going to Big Bend. And then, you can do things north of Buena Vista, along that's on that route. And then you can do things, obviously, you connect to the Mineral Belt Trail. So, the whole idea is options, and you don't have to do the whole thing. In fact, maybe I should mention at some point, our master plan actually makes it clear, in part responding to criticisms from places like Granite, who are not actually big fans of this idea, to be honest, but.
You don't move to Granite, Alan, to like be around folks. So it makes sense.
Sorry, none of you really.
No.
There's a tree out in the parking lot that's stringing me up. And they came to one of our public meetings and observed that they had tar and feathers ready.
Oh, my lord, Alan, that
So-
is so aggressive.
It's an interesting thing, but there's a public road that goes right through there. And it's a public road and then it's a BLM road, so technically speaking, they can't say that that's not allowed. But we're trying to be appropriate about that. Anyway, I don't want to get into all of that issues, but I've been through my own ups and downs in the public involvement aspect of this. That's my daughter actually on the Mineral Belt Trail. I think we were training for the Courage Classic. So what else? So I guess
Somebody else has this room too, just an FYI, there's a tobacco
That too.
hearing here.
5 minutes.
That's not us.
yeah, okay, thanks. Right, we're about finished. We're really trying to get toward the end of our involvement, the major involvement here, and I've referred to this all along. And we do have, and I'm gonna just encourage you to do it on your own, we have just spent a lot of effort on redoing our website. So it's www.stagerail.com, which I know that with this PDF, it's probably not active, but I'm not sure. But you get to this, and then you can go to an interactive map, which has on it, the bicycling routes and the driving routes, if you click on that. And then it has 60 different points of interest that I have, and then it leads you back to, each of those points of interest leads you back to an online brochure in which I've got multiple images, and then if you click on that, you get a longer text describing what, this example happens to be the one you've just seen, where we're putting the Crossroads Trail underneath. That's the VOC crowd, 50 different volunteers who came up and worked. So I would encourage you to spend some time on that. You have to actually go in under Explore, and you go to an interactive map, and that gives you there, and you click up in the upper corner and upper left. So click that, and it'll give you a blue dot right here. You have to hold on this one. There you go. Here we are in your office right now. Okay. So anyway, that's what we worked with a graphic artist to do that.
Beautiful.
Okay. In the loose ends, we've already talked about trying to figure out what to do on the private land. We need to put in a couple more trailhead signs, and we're actually actively now going to propose that LaCosi provide us with some assistance for a sign like this at the Hayden Rec site, and one here in Leadville at the Mineral Belt Trail where it intersects.
Did you apply to the grant?
We're in the process, Duncan is really more in charge of the process than we are, but we are a candidate.
It is in front of the finance committee.
Yes.
Excellent.
So thank you for taking the time.
Wow, this is
I appreciate
huge.
not only being here, but having been here 4 or 5 times before with your predecessors. And as I mentioned, you've been very supportive. And we're not asking you for anything at the moment. Our intention was to bring you up to speed on what we've done so far. Come back again when we have some more solutions, and I'm working with Sterling as we speak. And he and Sarah are kind of the key I don't mean to be critical of them, I'm just trying to, we're trying to figure out the best way to do this. And they're comfortable with, and that makes your county attorney comfortable, and so, we can proceed, but we're anxious, particularly because I'm getting a little old in the tooth, to bring this to a close, in the sense that my involvement will not be so direct, and that there are ways to kind of discuss with the county whether they want to provide some sort of oversight, as this is a long-term sustainable thing, in which the county is not gonna have to do much, but they will at least provide some oversight. And we do have, a parks, recreation, open space function, which potentially, I don't wanna speak for anybody here, but potentially those are an option, and we're in discussion with the equivalent in Chaffey County, with the potential for Chaffey County to provide some additional, oversight. But of course, I don't think I've ever quite said it this way, but Garna has no jurisdiction over any of these routes. They are your jurisdiction when they're on county road. They're AHRA's jurisdiction in certain situations. They're the city's jurisdictions when they pass through the municipalities.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, CDOT is kind of out of the picture because they technically are not, So we collectively, the project has no jurisdiction. So it's all up to the different partners who have actual jurisdiction to implement, to provide physical oversight.
Yeah.
As opposed to sort of strategic oversight.
Yeah.
And it's that strategic oversight that we're kind of hopeful that the counties may eventually be in a position to step up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Alan, nice to meet you. Good job.
Yes, what a pleasure.
Let me, just because I happen to have this with me, I'm not sure you're familiar with the publication Garna has done on the scenic byway.
Thank you.
Collegiate Peak Scenic Byway, and I'll quickly show you, it's the very same, all of, so a bunch of interpretive information about that.
Wow.
The same map that you saw here is there.
Thank you, Alan.
You don't have a really equivalent high-quality publication for top of the Rockies. This one is really, we think it's quite good. Well, because I had a lot to do with it.
Nice job.
We had a graphic designer who worked on that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Thank you all.
Thank you, Duncan.
See you, Duncan.
Thank you. Here.
And this